In today's video, we're going to take a look at the AD5X by Flashforge. It's a multicolor unit that just hit the market, and it's more on the affordable side of things. But is it any good? Let's take a closer look. The setup for this printer was quite easy. I would just assume an hour, given you have to get it out of the box, assemble a couple things, and then the updates and the calibrations all take a little bit too. But overall, the process was quite simple. And then for assembly, all you have to do is attach the screen and then these little spool holders and then the IFS, which is the gray box there that feeds the filaments into the head. And then I opted to print this little Flashforge token over a benchy, and I noticed the first layer didn't have quite enough squish, so I manually adjusted the Z height and just let it finish printing. This is just yellow PLA and then Sunlu silk. So let's go ahead and do a first layer test and just print a large square on the build plate just to see how even those layer lines are. And all that does is just show you how well stuff's gonna stick to the bed. Because some stuff might stick very well in the middle, but once you start getting to the edges of the build plate, it might not stick very well. So when you're printing something like, let's say these Flexi boxes, and you want to fill the build plate with multiple of them, you want to ensure the whole bed's going to have proper adhesion. So let's go ahead and do that. I don't believe you can actually manually bed level this one. You'd have to like shim it or do like the skip tooth method like on like the Crowdy machines. Overall, I've had pretty good results. I've had a couple failures and then I just clean the bed, raise the bed temp, and it seems to be fine. So let's see how it looks. Okay, then all we did was add a primitive shape in here. And you can see it's just one layer, and that's just what we're going to print. So it looks pretty good. I think this is going to print a pretty good first layer. I've had pretty good results. There's been a few times where I've had prints fail, but it almost seemed like a print error versus a first layer error. And even on like the bottom of these, look, the first layer looks great. So I did get a little bit of warping on these, but I think that was more so a dirty, better bed temp than first layer. And here's one of the examples of the random failure. The first layer looked good. I walked away for like 15 minutes and I came back to this. What actually happened, I do not know. And how the cover popped off, couldn't tell you. Luckily, I caught it right away. So all I did was raise the bed temp by 5, and this one seemed to print perfect. Multicolor print with the silk color changing filament, black eyes, and then this is Sunlu silk. So I don't know if it's just the tolerances of the Dragon, but it's a little snug. It could also be some overflow on the printer, but she'll break in. But yeah, first one was a dud, and this one printed beautifully. First layer looks good, minus, you know, the flexi tolerances. I was messing with the offset, I believe. Oh yeah, here we go. So here you can change the Z offset. For instance, it looks like there's a little too much smoosh right there. So if you don't like that, you can raise the Z offset up, which you can probably also do in the slicer. If it's this won't hold, so if I change it to 0.01 millimeters to get it a little bit further away to ease up that smoosh, it won't stay. After this print, it'll reset to 0. So then, if it's something you have to continually change, then I would set it in the slicer. And I'd rather err on the side of too much smoosh than not enough smoosh, just for like sticking purposes. Okay, so let me double check that you can change the Z offset and hold it. Just when I get these printers, I try to use them as the average beginner user would use them, because I don't want to go in here and change a bunch of stuff and then say this printer prints great when the newer users are probably going to struggle. So I try to keep everything as basic as possible. I try not to change many settings. If I change a setting, odds are it's just raising the bed temp or like the number of walls and infill. Really simple things. Yep, right here. Okay, so if you just go up to where it shows your printer and click edit, there's a Z offset. You can just set that to whatever you want, and that'll hold your Z offset. Versus changing the settings here, we'll reset it every time. And overall, like the middle looks great. Just the outsides have a little too much squish, but all right, it is done. Okay, so this is done. As you can see on the outside here, there's a little too much smooth, so that just tells me that the bed's just a little low here. I'm not sure if these are hot spots. Like the layer lines look the same. It's just different discoloration. And I just cleaned it before this, so I don't know. But overall, other than the high spots, I don't see any daylight through this, so let's take it off. Can't see any light spots through it. That just might just be hot spots in the bed, but you could try adjusting the Z height to clear some of this outside stuff up, but I would honestly just leave it. You can see there, you can kind of see it without the reflection of them hot spots kind of make it hard to see, but you can see there throughout it's pretty even. And it's 220 by 220 by 220, which is a little bit smaller than the Bambu A1 and the other Bambu printers. Okay, so this here is 256 by 256. And just for a reference, that's the AD5X plate. So as you can see, you have about an extra 1.5 inches on these two sides with the Bambu. So depends what you're going for. But the Bambu is bigger. All right, so let's take a look at the display. Super responsive, very easy to use. I would say it's quite similar to the Bambu and like the Creality printers. So let's say, like here's all of our files we've been printing. Let's take a look at this Dragon. So the Dragon will take 6.5 hours to print, 77 grams, and you can choose to have the leveling and this is the IFS, the multicolor thing. So let's go next. So here we would select the film we want to use. So I had it set up for silk for the body and black for the eyeballs. And then you go down here and click print, and that's pretty much it. And then there's other stuff you can do in here, like set your Wi-Fi up and do like the leveling sequence. But either you can see it's responsive, it's clear, no complaints, works fine. Okay, so they did inform me that they're changing this design here. So these were, I don't know, not the best, and I did get a few feeding issues, and I believe it was just related to these. So these will look more like the Bambu A1. I think they sent me a reference photo of what the new one will look like, so I'll add that to the screen. But you just pull it out, and then to load it in. So yeah, like this is, well, these Sunloos have bigger holes, but it'll be designed to more hold these on there more snug. And then you just feed it up into the tube. Gives you a little pop-up on the display, and then it'll just feed it in and out. And also, I've been running TPU off of this. No real major issues. So yeah, super easy to swap rolls. Then it's got, I don't think the new one will have this weird little 3D printed thing. 54-hour print is done. We printed this multicolor TPU football, and it did okay. Look at that poop. So halfway through the print, the prime tower fell over. I think it was because this was getting little poop clogs on the nozzle cleaner here, and I think it just had a clog on there and knocked the tower over. So I have all this hair on the back here, but it looked overall decent, so I just let it play out. So let's see. This is the second one I did. The first one I did, it was getting this weird like under extrusion here, and I think it had a like a feeder timeout kind of deal. So this one looks better. So we have some hair, and we do have a layer shift. But overall, like the quality where it didn't mess up looks pretty good. Came off the plate easy. So supports with TPU. Ooh. Well, where that layer shift was, no good. Supports did come off easy. Well, that sucks. Where it didn't have airs though, this looks super clean throughout here. And then some weird under extrusion here and that random layer shift, probably when the tower fell over. But like that looks so good. Down here looks good, minus all the stringing from the tower being over, but it printed it well. And this was this was asking a lot to do a 54-hour print. So I'm not gonna run it again just because I don't wanna waste a bunch of TPU, but it has potential if you hone it in. And it's by no means bad at printing TPU. It's just something like this with a lot of holes in it. It's gonna have a lot of retractions, just making something like TPU more likely to clog since it's so soft. So yeah, this doesn't look the best. Supports came up relatively easy. This one on the bottom's pretty on there. There, so as you can see, that bottom one did come off. I had to use the pliers, but it didn't fuse to it at all. So with some tweaking, I think you could print this no problem. It was a 50-hour print and I just wasn't gonna attempt it again. But these, for instance, are simulator golf tees and I printed these super smooth. As you can see, supports move pretty good. And overall, it's a pretty clean print. So a majority of things you're printing out of TPU probably aren't gonna be big footballs and basketballs unless it's kind of for fun. But these printed great. So as you can see, this is an open frame Core XY printer. It doesn't have a camera. I'm sure you can buy a camera for it to keep the printers cheaper. You know, it's kind of a bare bones printer. Let's take a look at the head here. This comes off super easy. It's just magnets on, no actual wires, which makes it nice. You don't have to actually unplug anything. And then I'm pretty sure this has the, oh yeah, so we do have another quick swap head here. That's what I loved about the first Flashforge. It was easy to swap. So there we go. Okay, so I haven't actually taken this apart yet, so. Okay, so you just pop off that little rubber grommet. This looks very similar to the Bambu H2Ds. So there we go, 0.4. Then to put it back in. There we go. Slide this back on there. Just like that. Super easy, no threads. And that's the filament cutter. It just slams into the wall and it has a little, I think it's up here, where it cuts the filament. So my biggest complaint about this printer is the interface. It just needs work. It just feels underdeveloped and not finished. So a lot of these companies, so a lot of people love Orca Slicer. It's like an offshoot of the Bambu and Prusa Slicer and all that. To me, Orca's the best slicer. It's easy to use. I love the layout, and that's just what I prefer. And these companies are starting to realize that people want to use Orca Slicer. So what they're doing is they're just taking Orca Slicer, cloning it, and making it into Orca Flashforge or Cheaty Studio, or, you know, they're just making their own versions of it to put their name on it, even though it's still Orca. And Flashforge just did a very poor job of implementing that. I didn't have any issues with my Flashforge 5M Pro with regular Orca. It worked great, everything sent to it easy, and there was no problems. I don't know if it's the problems with having the multi-materials and the multicolor printing, because I had the same issues with the Creality K2. It's just some stuff wasn't working and stuff was sending weird, and I ended up just going back to the Creality slicer and not using Orca with it. And same problem with this. No problems with the Flashforge 5M Pro. For the last 3 weeks, I couldn't even send files to it with my Mac. I was able to send files with it with my other Windows computer. Even yesterday, it wouldn't let me log in. It kept giving me login errors, and you can't send files to the printer unless you're logged in. So it was like some server connection error. So I had to use the flash drive, which is no big deal, but it's just annoying at this point since I send all my files from Orca or whatever slicer via Wi-Fi. It's just a lot easier. Luckily, I have another computer where I can use a Windows operating system. Other than that, I'd say that's probably my biggest complaint with the printer is just they need to update the Orca Slicer Flashforge version. So let's take a look at some of these prints. Overall, it did pretty well. I was having some issues with the multicolor. I was raising the purge amounts and I was still getting a bleeding in my prints. So I reached out to customer support and they advised me to not touch the purge volumes and just increase the prime tower. So I would double the prime tower and that solved my issue. I asked a couple times if the purge amounts do anything because I was raising the purge amounts and weighing the purge volume and it didn't seem to affect the print. So again, that hopefully something we can fix in the update. Why? I don't know. I've just always tuned filaments with the purge amount. I've never really messed with the prime tower, so that's new to me. I asked a couple times if the purge amounts do anything and they never really answered the question. I don't know if it was just a language barrier or what, but at the time of testing it, I could max out the purge volumes, weigh the poop, and it would be the exact same if I didn't touch them. And then I would double the size of the prime tower and it fixed all my bleeding issues. So It's something I'll have to play with more, but overall the prints do look well. Let's take a look. Good? They look good? I don't know. So first let's look at the non-multicolor files. This is printed out of Bambu PLA. See, it printed this great. This top layer here doesn't look the best, but you could probably increase the flow and make that look a little better. You can see it's a little gappy in that top layer. Bottom layers look good, but overall, it did a good job printing that. Oh, I also printed this FlexiFox out of TPU just to see what a... It's a lot stiffer than I anticipated, but it is TPU. I would have to use a lower, like a 85, not this high flow 90, because this stuff's pretty stiff, but it printed it pretty good. Then I printed this little knitted bear planter. This is also my file. Printed this beautifully. And you can see here, just another random error. What happened here? I have no idea. But reset it, printed this one perfectly. And this is just Bambu PLA Basic. You can see it printed that just, oops, a little dusty. Printed that just beautifully. Pretty decent Z seam, but again, you could tune that, clean that up a little bit. But overall, very good looking print. Overhangs here don't look the best, but once it got past that, printed it pretty good. Okay, then these are just things I've printed trying to figure out the flushing volumes. These are also my files. It's got all those little details in there. Nice and flexy. These are just other FlexiFoxes I printed while I was figuring out the purge volumes. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but from here, where the nose is all the way down the body and where the eye is, there's black bleed. Opening on the arm, you can see it, I hope. It's harder to see on camera, but you can see it a lot more prevalent in person. But really, like, just stock, it's really not that bad. Okay, so I'm gonna grab a scale, and then we'll just weigh some of this poop. If you don't know about multicolor printing, these numbers will shock you because it's a lot of waste. Generally, with a multicolor print with more than 2 colors, you're gonna purge more waste than you are actually printing the model. The best way around that is to print, let's say I put 6 of those foxes on this build plate here. 6 FlexiFoxes or whatever print uses the same amount of waste as printing 1. All it is purging between filament changes, and the more you can print at one time, essentially the less waste you'll have. So same amount of waste printing 1 item than 6 or 10 or 12 items. Hope that makes sense. So let's get the scale, check this stuff out. Bambu A1 Flexi, AD5X Flexi. Like, I do think the A1 looks slightly better. Like, look around the ears there. See, this is the A1. Slightly better. So this is all A1. So the Flexi, 30 grams just for the Flexi. 141 grams, 170 total. This is the AD5X with maxed out purge volumes. Okay, so 165. As you can see, we still have that bleeding coming through here, along the arm, body, and in the face there. So it's less by 6, but we still have bleed issue. So this is the AD5X with a jumbo. Okay, so this is the AD5X prime tower, and this is the Bambu A1 prime tower. Ridiculous looking, I know. So the prime tower alone, 55 grams. FlexiFox, 32 grams. But as you can see, Bambu A1, AD5X. This print looks good. No bleeding, face nice and clean. Honestly, this one would be hard to tell what printer printed what, as they both look very clean. Waste, 181. 213. And again, you could really tune those numbers and get them down, but I still think it's going to be more than the Bambu A1. And without being able to adjust the purge volumes, for me anyway, it's a lot harder, besides just making, you know, this giant prime tower a little bit smaller. I printed one, doubled it, still had some bleed, and then I added 50% on top of that, which is why it is so insanely massive. Okay, so this is my dog file. This is Sunlu silk color changing PLA. And as you can see, it printed this silk beautifully. Look how good that looks. Beautiful little dog flexi. Just regular black eyes. And look at the waist here. The waist isn't nearly as much. So 62 grams waist, 89, 87 total. But that print, especially being silk, beautiful. And you can see, look how weird and fat the silk poops look compared to the regular PLA. Okay, then I printed another flexi snake out of Bambu color changing filament. Oop, that don't belong in there. Look how good this looks. Another beautiful print. Look at all that detail. This is a 0.16 layer height. Great looking print, no bleed. 39 grams waist. A little bit bigger prime tower. 71 total. And I've done several videos on printing multicolor at this point. The darker the colors you use, the less you're gonna have to worry about your purge volumes, because the darker the color, the less the bleed. So when you're using light colors like that light orange on the Flexi Fox or white, the color bleed is gonna be way more prominent versus like a dark brown or that dark silk color. So another Flexi snake, 60 grams total. So on that other one, I could have definitely probably lowered it on that last one. You can see this is with 28 grams of waste. This is the first Flexi snake I was trying to print with this machine. And as you can see, the first one, we got that color bleed between the eyes. And again, only 2 colors, so there's only 28 grams of waste. But this one, you see that one looks a lot better. Again, prints the details of the snake very well. Total print, 62. Then we also have another planter here. This is Bambu brown. This is the same brown as this here. See, printed that great. Lots of little details. And this is just printed out of black. You can see it also printed that very well. And as you can see, it prints very well. For the most part, being an open printer, you're going to be printing mostly PLA, TPU, and PETG. The build plate does say ABS on it, but good luck being not an enclosed printer. But you could definitely make an enclosure for this printer. I do not know if they sell one or not. So overall, what do I think of this printer? I do think it needs some updates. Hardware-wise, I think it's pretty good, and they are fixing these little side holders, but all that stuff's easily fixable. I usually get these weeks before they come out, so typically they're gonna be a little buggy for the most part. And I'm pretty sure the price is gonna be $400, and I believe they're having some sort of sale when it first comes out. So for under $400, I think this thing's a great price for a multicolor printer. For affordable multicolor printers, there's not really much out there but the Bambu A1, and I believe Anycubic Cobra has a multicolor printer for like $550, but I'm not really familiar with that printer, so I can't speak on it. But the Bambu A1, I love that printer. I've had it for pretty much since it came out, and it's been great. Prints nice, prints clean, easy to use, and I really like that printer. The Bambu A1 combo, I believe, is $550. So if they can keep this thing around $400 or under $400, I think it'd be a great competitor to the Bambu A1. If it's getting up to that $500, $550 range, I'd almost personally at this point buy the Bambu A1. I just have had that for a while, and I've had great luck with it over the last year plus. But overall, I think it's a great printer. I think it's gonna require a little more tinkering and keeping a closer eye on than the Bambu A1. but it also, again, if they can keep it at $400, that might be worth it. There's also the whole crew of people that just don't want to buy a Bambu printer, and great option. My 5M Pro back there I absolutely love. I've had that for quite a while and it still runs great today. This one I only have a couple hundred hours into it, so take a lot of this with a grain of salt. They're probably going to come out with updates and make it a little bit better, but as of right now I think it's pretty good. Needs some updates, but overall I'm happy with it. Also, when I get a little more time into this, I could put this up head to head against the Bambu A1 if people are interested, so I guess let me know in the comments if that's something you want to see. If this printer speaks to you, you can use the affiliate links in the description to support the channel at no cost to you. We also started listing some 3D printer files on our website. We'll get a thanks going eventually here. We've just been pretty busy. So thank you all for watching and hope you all have a great day.